Hey y'all, it's Kim. So I don't really have time to sit here for hours and hours on end to watch this Lindsay Clancy case. I mean, I know I sit for a long time and I need to stop doing that. But this is like a 17, almost 18-minute clip of a psychiatrist who actually interviewed Lindsay Clancy after the events where she murdered her children. I guess in the hospital when she was coherent. But he's basically saying that she only heard those voices in her head or whatever, the one telling her to harm her children for like 18 minutes, which is about the time frame that kind of suggests that she did this. So anyway, let's go ahead and listen to him. I mean, just take it with a grain of salt, listen, whatever. I mean, thanks to Court TV for posting all this stuff for us. And now we have it you know, in our hands to kind of form our own opinion because that's kind of what usually happens in these situations. I do not support Lindsay Clancy. I mean, I had postpartum depression after my first daughter. I had like bad nightmares. There was one night I woke up in the middle of the night searching frantically through the blankets looking for Kaylee, my oldest girl. She's 29 now. She's almost 30. But so I understand the postpartum thing, but that was just a few weeks after giving birth to her versus Lindsay Clancy had 8 months after Callan to do what she did. And I'm not really sure all the ins and outs of postpartum, so don't come after me for that. But I mean, to me, after listening to a lot of the people that talked about her, she was very privileged. She had help throughout the days. Patrick was working down in the basement. He would come up and say hi to him, whatever your opinion of the man is, whatever. I don't care. I don't think it was him at all. I think it was all her. And she just made this decision arbitrarily and did what she did. And now she's going to have to take full, responsibility for what she's done. So let's go ahead and let him speak on her behalf after interviewing her.
And so, doctor, if we could go to the next slide and you could talk to us, tell us what evidence you saw for acute psychosis with command hallucinations.
Yes. The first was, that's what she said. I asked her that question, and that's the way she explained it happened. She said, sometime on the afternoon of January 24th, 2023, that she heard a voice, and the voice said, "This is your last chance. You have to kill the kids so you can kill yourself." If she actually heard a voice like that, that would be evidence of psychosis being experienced and what we call command hallucinations, where the voice is instructing her to do something. There were some other possible things that made me think that it could be a severe mental illness that she was experiencing, and two in particular. One was thinking that others might know her thoughts. Now, this is something that is a symptom of psychosis called thought broadcasting if it's experienced in a certain way. In thought broadcasting, if I'm experiencing that, I literally have the idea that if I'm thinking it, you can hear what I'm saying, just as if I were putting it on the television or podcast or a movie or whatever. It's just coming out that way. I asked her about that, and she said, and other people asked her about that too, and she said it was not thought broadcasting, but these were very vivid thoughts, and she thought that it might be that people could hear them as vivid and strong as they were. The second possible symptom is that thinking police might take her children. Now, in some of the records, I saw people saying, "Oh, this looks like a paranoid delusion to me." And I will tell you that it didn't look either paranoid or like a delusion to me. And here's why. I'm a healthcare professional, And that means that in Pennsylvania and every other state I know, I'm a mandated reporter. If someone tells me in therapy or in an assessment that they think that a child is going to be injured or severely hurt or that might happen, then I'm required by law to contact Childline in Pennsylvania. Ms. Clancy is a labor and delivery nurse. She's a healthcare professional as well. And so it's one of those things where if she had said to a psychiatrist, psychologist, anyone providing treatment, that she thought she was experiencing ideas like she might harm her kids, she would know as a mandated reporter that they were legally required to report that. Now, that might not mean that the police would literally come and take her kids away, but it would mean that there would be an investigation. She would have to answer questions, and it might be that for a period of time she would be separated from the children.
And doctor, is it? I thought he was done.
I don't know. Oh, we'll find out. You done?
Okay, and her attorney, Lindsay Clancy's attorney, thinks he's running that courtroom, and I don't know what the judge is doing. I listened to several times where he was interrupting witnesses and wouldn't let them finish. I mean, he may seem like a bulldog and all this stuff, and you want a defense attorney that's going to work for you, but he shouldn't be badgering witnesses and talking down to them, especially one of the psychiatrists who's only been in for a month. Yeah, she probably made mistakes, whatever, but he was very, very belittling to that girl. Anyway, I'm just like, I don't like this attorney at all. So, ugh.
I just want to ask a follow-up question about your last point. Is that okay?
Oh, yes, that's okay.
And so you mentioned you didn't think it was a delusion. Is it true that a delusion is a fixed false belief?
Yes, that's the way it's defined.
And so Ms. Clancy thinking that if someone knew she thought of harming her kids might be taken away, that's not a false belief, correct?
Well, that was what I was trying to say, is that it is not a false belief. It's quite possible that it could come to pass.
And if you could continue with your discussion of why the evidence you saw for acute psychosis.
Yes. The other point there at the bottom is that it's appealing as an explanation because it could explain acts that seem so out of character for her. You don't have to get complicated at all. It's just, I had a psychotic episode. I heard a voice. The voice told me to do something terrible. I did it.
And after considering the evidence for acute psychosis, command hallucinations, did you then consider evidence against acute psychosis with command hallucinations?
I did, yes.
And what did you see?
One of the reasons, well, the first bullet point here is that the way she described this as happening is that she heard a voice that she'd never heard before, experienced an hallucination, and she's never experienced it since, but she only experienced it for the 18 minutes or so that it took to kill the children. And to put it mildly, that would be a very, very unusual pattern or manifestation of how this kind of thing comes about. Very unusual. I've been doing this kind of evaluation for many, many years, and I'm always very careful when someone tells me that they experienced a symptom only during the course of committing an offense.
Why is that, doctor? Why are you careful when someone tells you that they only experience this voice during a criminal offense?
Well, because it provides a convenient way of lessening your own culpability. I mean, it's always possible, but as I said, I find it very, very rare. Whereas an explanation for why somebody did something, somebody might look at that and say, it's a convenient way of somebody looks at me and I don't have the same culpability that I would otherwise.
And what was the next part of evidence that you saw against acute psychosis?
There was some discussion of whether this was postpartum. And so she was about 8 months away from having given birth to Callan, her youngest child. And most of the explanations or most of the sources of authority like DSM-5 or the Cleveland Clinic will point to maybe 1 month after birth or 2 months after birth or something like that. But the farther away you get time-wise from the birth, the less likely it is under those kinds of authority to be postpartum. Now, it could be something else. And there were certainly some things that I saw that were symptoms of depression and other sorts of things that she experienced in January. But it was, given the time, it was less likely, I thought, to be postpartum. Then the next bullet was inconsistencies in her account. To me, when asked about this, she said, the voice said, "This is your last chance. You have to kill the kids so you can kill yourself." And it just kept repeating that, and only that, for about 18 minutes, or the duration of the time it took to do this. There were other times, though, for instance, when she was in the hospital after this happened and was talking to a psychiatric attending, when she said that the voice had said other things, for example, the children will suffer without you, or you have to take the kids with you, or things like that. So inconsistency is important because it suggests inaccuracy. In other words, which version is accurate? Is it the first? Is it the second? Is it neither? I mean, here it couldn't be both, because she said, I only heard this. To some people, she said that. And then I heard this plus this. To other people, she said that.
So, doctor, if she had said to a third person that it was a different version, such as you have to kill the kids so you can kill yourself because there's a danger to you and the kids, would that be a further consideration of the inconsistencies?
Yeah, overruled.
Overruled.
The more inconsistency there is.
Can we have a basis for that?
It's asked as a hypothetical.
Hypothetical, yes.
I'll allow that.
So it's not based on evidence, it's a hypothetical.
It's hypothetical.
You might have to repeat the question.
So if the person has a third version of what happened, what the voice said, and what the reasons the voice gave, would that be important in your assessment as well regarding inconsistency?
Objection. It's speculation. It's not based on evidence, and there's no foundation for a hypothetical question.
Let's just ask it as a hypothetical. You know, assuming this and go that way.
Doctor, a hypothetical question for you. Assuming that a person has already given two versions of a voice, what the voice said for them to do, and then gives a third version of what the voice told them to do, would that be significant to you in assessing the inconsistencies?
Objection to the record.
Yeah. Overruled. Go ahead.
What I would say is the more inconsistency there is, the more problematic I find it to take any one particular account and say this is the accurate one.
And then what other evidence did you find against acute psychosis?
There is some research that's been conducted on malingered hallucinations, which are accounts of hallucinations that are exaggerated or fabricated. And I found it useful to look at that research and see what it suggested and kind of lay it out there in terms of the way she described it. So some research suggests that that one consideration is whether the voices are internal or external, whether they're coming from your own thoughts or whether they're coming from outside of your head. And Ms. Clancy perceived this voice as external, which is more consistent with genuine hallucinations. However, Command hallucinations are often, in about 88% of individuals reporting them by one account, accompanied by a related delusion. Ms. Clancy did not report any accompanied delusions. So thus far, you've got 1 point for genuine and 1 point for possible exaggerated. Then there's frequency and control. Genuine psychotic hallucinations are more often intermittent than constant. They'll come and they'll go. You'll hear it, stop hearing it. You'll hear it again, stop hearing it, and this can extend over a period of time. Ms. Clancy, in this instance, reported that the voice was constant for 18 to 20 minutes, and then it stopped. It had not been experienced before, and it has not been experienced since. She also did not report having any control over the voice or over her actions in response to the voice. Then the next item is content. So genuine hallucinations are often familiar, use both genders, and are clear rather than vague. Ms. Clancy described this voice as clear, but it was unfamiliar and it was a single male voice. So that was sort of mixed. I'm not counting it as one direction or another. And then finally, a reaction and coping. Individuals who experience hallucinations like this often try to reduce their influence in different ways. Could be praying, could be listening to music. And while those who inaccurately report the experience of such hallucinations often do not describe coping mechanisms. And Ms. Clancy didn't report any attempt to stop the voice or distract herself from it or what have you. So there were about 3 points on which her account more closely resembled exaggerated or fabricated hallucinations. One where it looked more genuine and one that was kind of mixed.
If I could ask you a question, you said that there were more points indicating malingering or exaggerating the existence of the voice. But earlier you testified about your psychological testing of Ms. Clancy, and it showed minimization, and it didn't show malingering. Could you explain how those two things could occur in the same person at the same time?
Yes. When we try to appraise through testing or specialized measures something that looks like malingering or exaggeration, the way we typically do it as psychologists who develop the measures is it looks like somebody who is going to take a shotgun approach. They're going to say unusual things are wrong and strange things are wrong and many things are wrong and things like that. If you do that, we're pretty good at picking up that shotgun approach to malingering. But if I ask you a bunch of questions and you answer them almost entirely in a genuine way, that you're being as accurate as you can, except with one exception, when I ask you about one experience or one symptom and you exaggerate or fabricate that, it's we can't pick that up through our testing. So what we have to do instead is we have to kind of develop our ideas about how it might have been experienced, what it was consistent with, what the disorder is. We take a broader approach, which is what I've tried to do in talking about this.
We'll go to the next slide, please. And was there further evidence against acute psychosis?
Yes. I'm going to start with the question of thoughts or hallucinations. I've already said that I found the account of hallucinations to be, as she described it, it would be very, very unusual to experience it that way. Never having, not before, not since, constantly for 18 minutes. However, if this was a thought, an unwelcome, intrusive thought, but still a thought, that's basically, this is your last chance, you have to kill the kids so you can kill yourself, then that would be consistent with thoughts that she'd been experiencing for some time. She'd been having thoughts about harming herself, that she was, it was going to be very difficult for her to to do this in a way that that made sense. She was experiencing thoughts about hurting herself because her brain might have been damaged. She was experiencing thoughts about hurting the kids. She was experiencing all sorts of unwelcome thoughts. If that were the case on January 24th, if these were thoughts, then that would be consistent with what she'd been experiencing for months before. So that was.
Again, thank you to Court TV for putting this on for us and showing us that some of this is probably BS. But hey, whatever. You have your opinion, I have mine. I don't support this woman at all. I think she's just a privileged psychopath. She had way more help than most people. She had access to medications and doctors and all the stuff, all the family members, you know. So I'm not going to sit here and support something like this. But y'all to let me know what you think in the comments. Talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Bye.